Okay, so we're just 1 minute past and we're ready to begin. So, as I mentioned, my name is Nama Aroni. I'm the product expert for B1UP and the productivity package at Boyum IT. And I will tell you just a little bit about myself. I started with Business One in 2003. Since then, I've been working with SAP at SAP location, both in Israel and in Canada. And after that, I've joined B1UP as the product expert. I will just start, but what I want to tell you is that I would encourage you to ask as many questions as you want. You can write them in the chat, and then I would see that you're asking a question, or you can write them in the question part. And just feel free to ask me anything you may want to know about the product. Okay, so now we can formally start after the introduction. So, who is Boyum? For those of you on the call that doesn't know Boyum, we are founded in '97. We are based in Aarhus in Denmark, but besides that, we have other locations around the world like Finland, Norway, Germany, UK, US, and Brazil. The B1 app in specific has been certified since 2003, and it has been winning a lot of awards by the SAP and the SAP conferences. We have more than 1,800 customers worldwide. I'm sure that these numbers are up. I think it's about 1,900 now, installed in 58 countries, and we have more than 34,000 users. I just got the update 2 days ago. So 34,000 users around the world using B1 app on SAP Business One. So as you can see from the numbers, we're basically one of the most sold add-ons in the SAP arena. And the reason is that because we're not a vertical solution, we are a horizontal solution. So we fit all businesses that would like to improve the productivity and usability from SAP Business One installations. So we are being tested in the SAP labs every time a new version of SAP Business One comes up. So what is the B1 app? For those of you that don't know the product or just heard a little bit about it, in general, the B1 app is really a full package that is intended, as I mentioned, to increase the productivity, increase the usability from SAP Business One, because we know that SAP Business One is a one system fit all. So it's not industry based, it's not any sort of business based. So for that, we usually need a customization. Usually that's something that you, the partners, would do. We need customization. We need sometimes even writing codes or using the SDK for that. And the B1 app is really helping you by, first of all, not using SDK. So you're able to do a lot of things in B1 app without using SDK to match your specific requirements of your customers, and of course to do many other things, and I will show you some of them as we go into the live demo. So in highlights, we're surrounding around creating navigation. So if the user would like to change the way he navigates in Business One, meaning to reduce the number of clicks to get to a certain window, or to change a sequence of the tab and so on. We can now redesign the screen as we want. We can basically take any screen, hide fields, move fields, put user-defined fields into the main screen, create a new tab, do whatever it is that you need to do for matching your customers, because we know that all this information in Business One screen sometimes is redundant and you can clear it out. You can make sure that the data that you have in the system is the correct one, meaning you can either set something as a mandatory field, or you can say, I want this field to have a list of valid values, for example. You can make advanced validation. What it means, and I think that's part of the highlights of the product, is validation is basically business rules. So for example, if you have a customer that would like to add a sales order only once he has expenses of $10, So this is an example for a rule, and this is something that you can do with a validation. So you're basically telling the system how the system should behave, what it should prompt to the user in a specific cases. And by that, basically, you're creating a new business logic into the software. As for automating tasks, we can do a lot of things in an automatic way. Instead, again, having the user having to do that, we can create a automatic a functionality that is going to save a lot of time and a lot of effort for the users. And the last but not the least is, of course, to search and display data in the application, just like you do with Google. And of course, we have many, many more, and you will see it's very hard to show you everything. Otherwise, it will take me a day to show you all what you can do with B1UP, but we will focus on the highlights. So this has been the highlights. Now, if I'm going into a more deeper level, so what we have in B1UP is, I will do it very quickly. We have a toolbox which is about 40 different small functionalities. They're just too small to fit into their own model, but they are very wide. They're across the systems, and you can do many, many things with it. For example, have a flag in business partners, either in marketing documents or in the business partner master data, or you can do many, many more things in Toolbox. This is a matter of a checkbox. Mandatory fields is the you're able to define a field as mandatory, so you're going to have a value in it, so you're not missing important information. Item placement tool is where you're actually doing all the redesign of the screen, changing, hiding, moving, and so on. Function buttons is the ability to add different buttons into the system. Anywhere in any window that you need, you can add buttons that basically can go into the application, into another window, or externally to another program outside of SAP Business One, or many different things. We just need to tell the button what it should do, and that's what it does. We can add new menus into the screen, into the menu, and we can change the names of existing menus. So basically, we can fit the acronyms of the customers in the software itself. We can set items as read-only. And I would just want to say something about read-only and item placement about hiding fields. Many customers use it as an additional authorization on a field level. So basically, if you want a user to see something but not to change it, then you define it as read-only. But if you don't want the user to see a field, you don't want him to see the balance of the business partner, for example, that you can just hide this field for this specific user. So those two are very important when we talk about authorizations. Default data is if you have the same information that you keep entering in item master or business partner master over and over and over again. So why not save this time and just save it as default, and every time you're going to open up item master and business partner master, then this information is going to be auto-populated into the system. And again, you're not having to do all this data entry by yourself again and again. The quick create is very, very good for customers that do retail, or customers that have a very quick exchange of business partners coming into their store or coming into their business. So you're able to do in one click. So from the marketing documents, you're able to add the business partners or the items, and by that you don't need to go into the master data window, but you actually have a smaller, a minimized window inside marketing documents to add it. So you're able to do it very, very quickly. Template system is very similar to default data, but template system is creating like a group of data entry. So for example, if you have a certain way that you're running your sales analysis, you can just save it as template. And next time you go to run into the to run that report, you can just populate the template, and by that again save data entry. You can do it in reports, you can do it in marketing documents, you can do it in master data, and again saving a lot of redundant data entry. You just save it as groups and populate it. Enhancement models include the foreign exchange. So instead of creating your own exchange rate update or buying it, then we have it in the system. We're connected into 6 different banks that you can choose from and update the exchange rate on the system while online or offline. So when no one is using B1 Business One, when it's nighttime and there's nobody logged in, you're able to do an update offline. B1 Search is again the search mechanism of the B1 app. The master data manager is just a way for you to do administrative work. For example, the form setting per user, you can copy that to other users, but you can also define which documents you want to copy to the other users. So the settings for the form setting for, let's say, a sales order, you can just pick the sales order and copy the form setting of that document to another user or a set of users. This is something, again, that is not in Business One currently. You can also do it with authorization. You can update bulk information in the business partner and item master as well. So many administrative work, it's usually done by super user or the implementation consultant. And the last, again, but not the least, is the on-site development, which is the validation, which is where you basically enter business logic, you enter rules into the system, and you're able to do it with universal functions, which on top of it is just an extension of what Business One can do. We're able to create our own functionality and enter it into the system, and I'm going to show you all of that. So it's going to be more visual for you to understand. So the next slide is actually an old example of an optical outlet solution that we've created with B1UP. What we did is that we just added a new tab called Lenses into the business partner master data, and you're able to see that we've moved we've moved user-defined fields into the main window. So you're able to see that we've done that, and then later into the sales order we created the same tab called lenses. We copied again the user-defined fields, and we created a business logic that's going to copy for that business partner the information from the master data and populate it in the sales order, so you're able to do the sales order more quickly. So that's something that you can do. Again, it's no SDK, it's a right click. I will show you that right now in a second. Another thing that is very hard to do in Business One is basically do some type of validations on the line level in the matrix. That's something that we cannot overcome with formatted search, or we cannot overcome with other customization tools. You can only do that usually with the SDK. So for example, this is an example of making sure that when we add a sales order, then the lines don't have a zero price. So usually the solution would be an SDK where you need a developer, some days of development, some scope done, coding, testing, packaging, and that has a price. Usually, again, those numbers might be higher or lower, but in general, there is a price for developing something with the SDK. And the way you do that in B1UP is as follows. I will just transfer to the application. So we're able to see here we have the sales order. What I will do, I will enter a business partner, and then I will enter some item lines. And in the item price, I'm just going to set row number 1, 3, and 5 as 0. So I can right click here. I can click on this button here, which is a B1UP button, which basically is going to check line by line, and it's going to tell you that the following lines have 0 prices, which is not allowed. Now, I've done the validation from this button. And I said, whenever someone is clicking this button, do and check the system. But we can also do that from the add. So for example, if right now I'm going to add, I just need to enter some information. So if I'm going to add the sales order, I'm going to click on add, and we get the same validation. So we can choose where we want the user to have this checkup happening on what the user should do in the system, that we can have this checkup. So this is an example of a validation in B1UP. Now, I will just want to say something about the cost for developing something with the SDK. When you develop something, it costs a certain amount, and then you need something else, it costs another amount, and so on and so on. Every time you need any development in the SDK, it costs a certain amount. With B1UP, you just pay once and you get 99% of your development needs inside the software. I would say, you know what, not 99, 95%. There's some things that is still we're not able to do, but in general, most of it can be done. So now what I've showed you is a prepared example. Now we're going to do it with you, and I'm going to show you how things are done. So we're starting by redesigning the screen, and I will just go into the application, and we're going to go into the business partner, and we're going to do some of the things here. So for example, if I want to hide a field from the system, so for example, if I want to hide the federal tax ID or the telephone number, what I need to do, pick the telephone number. So what I need to do, I would just right click, hide this item. I'm going to get that window, just ignore it. You can just click on update. Once you do that, the telephone number that was just here is gone. So you're able very quickly to hide any field that you want. Now, if I'm going to enable the user-defined fields, and I can actually move something from the user-defined field window into the main screen again with the same ease. So I would right-click, add this UDF onto the main window. Now, once I'm placing a new field in the window, it's like a canvas, so I need to tell the system where should I place the new field. So let's say I want to place it below the name. So I would click below, and then I would need to click on the label and of where I want to place it below. So I would click on the label name. Again, the same window is opening up, clicking on update, and OK, and the search field has been moved instantly. Now let's say you want to add a new tab. So again, very intuitively, the menu is very easy to understand. You just click on create a new tab, and you call it, for example, whatever name that you need. And then you can move some user-defined fields into this tab. Now, by default, you get to choose user-defined fields, but right now we'll show you how to move system fields into the new tab as well. So I'm just going to click on OK, and I'm going to refresh the window. And now you're going to see the new tab called More Info with the list of fields available already, and they're placed, and it took me about a second to create this new tab, which usually was an SDK. Now let's say you want to move the federal tax ID into the new tab. So you right click, choose move this item. Again, we're placing this field in a new location, so I'm going to click on below and click the level. So I'm placing it below the level, going to click on update. I don't care about this window. Click OK, and it has already moved. So you can see that redesigning is very, very simple. Now you can see this screen is basically very nicely done. All the fields are matching together and they're not separated somewhere on the screen. And this is, again, something that everybody can do and do it very easily. So the next thing I want to show you is how to add a button into the screen. So for example, if you want to add a button, you just need to click on Edit Function Buttons on this window. And you get this window, which basically this is where you define the buttons. So I'm going to click on Add, just to add a new button, and I'm going to call it, I need to give it a name, a caption, so you can write in any language. I'm going to write in English. It's going to be called Order. Now, when you're creating a new button, you need to tell the button what it should do. So you can pick from some custom-made options. So for example, user-defined menu, user query, a universal function, and so on. Or you can pick from a list of predefined options. So those are Business One screens that you can just choose and pick. So if I clicked on order, I'm just going to pick order here. And what this button is going to do, we're going to see that in a second. So let's go into Norm Thompson, which is our customer. And you can see here the flag enabled. So I'm going to click on order. And we're going to open, the button is going to open a sales order for Norm Thompson automatically populated into the sales order. If I'm going to pick a vendor, so if I'm going to pick a vendor, I'm going to click on the order, then we're going to see a purchase order. So the system knows to fit the right document to the right type of business partner. And if I'm just going to stay on the find mode and click on that, it's just going to ask me to choose between sales and purchase. Okay, so like that, you can add many, many different buttons. The next one I want to show you, we just enable something here that I right now I've hidden for the purpose of the following scenario. So what I want to do, I just want to have the telephone number here again. And now we're going to create a new button, a edit function button. And I'm going to call the new button Skype. So basically, we can enable calling someone from the system into Skype. So do it automatically. So I'm just going to find here the function, call via Skype. And what this function is doing is very easy. I'll show it very briefly, just if you're technical. So what I'm doing, I chose here, I want to call Skype. I want to have a Skype path. So I'm giving the exe file for Skype. And then I'm saying to the system, call this number. This number is a dynamic syntax of the telephone number in the business partner. If you know dynamic syntax, then you know what I mean. If not, we have a documentation on it. I made a mistake here, but that's okay. So let's go into Norm Thompson. I know he has a telephone number, and when we click on Skype, it's going to open Skype and it's going to try to dial this number. So we can automate that. We can access external programs from Business One into external programs. And then let's see another example of it. So let's say I'm just going to go into the internet and we're going to go into Amazon. I'm going to show you that for the purpose of the example. So let's say we want to find iPhone in Amazon. So when we click on iPhone on the search box, we're going to get this URL. And the first part, it says iPhone, is after the keywords. So if I understand that I can just change it to HP. And now we're going to see HP. Okay, so we know how to control the search box. So now we can take this parameter, we can take this URL, and I'm going to show you what we've done here in the box. So what we've done is basically said to the system, open Explorer, so open Internet. I just chose here Internet Explorer, copy the URL, and in the end of the URL, after the keywords, just place the item description. So this is again a dynamic syntax representation for the description field. Okay, so we copied the URL, we just said what we should look for, and now let's search for one of the products that we have here. And once I click on search Amazon, it's going to open my Internet Explorer with the same description. So HP, Office Jet, and so on. But because it is dynamic, so the powerful of that is that when I go into another item and click the search Amazon, we're going to get Internet Explorer for print a label. So you're able to search for things dynamically from Business One into any application that you want. You can write your own application, so you can choose not just from the list that I've showed you, but any application that you need, and send parameters from Business One into that program. And you can do it very easily. Many customers use it, for example, to search for the shipping, the tracking record for shipping in DHL or UPS or whatever it is that you need to search for. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is how to set a mandatory field. So I'm in a delivery window, and by right-clicking, I can choose to make this field mandatory. When I choose that, I get the following window. I don't need to do anything, but I do want to change the color of the mandatory field to red. So we're going to see it very visually. See, it happens instantly. So now if I'm going to try and enter a delivery without that customer reference number in, it's going to give me an error message that the following fields are mandatory customer reference number. So it happens very instantly, and you can do many things with the right click, just like mandatory. You can set read only or so on. Okay, so let's go back into the slides. I've done a few slides, like adding the new tab, adding the button, doing the search in Amazon, calling Skype. So now let's see something that is using an additional product called the print and delivery. And the print and delivery is basically enabling you to send emails automatically from the system into the customer's inbox, and also to print and save as PDF, for example. So let's show you how it works. So if you're using Service Call, or your customer is using Service Call, you're able to enter the information. So for example, the printer is not working. So that's the subject. In the remarks, the support rep can say that the color may be the problem, for example. I'm just making it up. So let's just add the service call. And now we can actually have a confirmation sent to the business partner that opened the complaint. So we're doing an email. And once it's done emailing, I'm just going to go. Okay, so we have received a request and working on a resolution. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. Printer is not working, so we can basically pull information from the service call into the email to generate a very specific and personalized email that even has as an attachment the service call. So basically, we're automating the service call department and making sure that customers get the relevant answers and the relevant information regarding their call. And other things that we can do, and that's not print and delivery, that's again B1UP, is, as I said, automate some tasks. So right now the customer has opened a complaint about this item. Let's say that the item is defect and we want to return it. So usually what we would do, if you know the service call, you would have to go to expenses, expenses details, new document, return, okay, and so on, and fill it out, and all this lengthy number of clicks. What I've done is just created a new button that does it all for me. So issue a return. Okay, I ignore this error. I get a return document. This is the document for this item. I get here the service call ID. So you can see that it's the same service call ID in here, 3939. And I even have an orange arrow which I can access the service call. Okay, so I've just automated something very quickly. I don't need to do anything. The user doesn't need to do anything. The send closure is the same thing. So if I'm, let's say item was returned and we're updating, so we're finishing the complaint and we send the closure And now we have here the closure. I would like to notify you that we have closed your service call and blah, 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 blah. And again, the service call. Now you see it right now in my draft just because that's how I set it up. I wanted you to see that, but of course you can do it automatically yourself. So it goes directly, not through the draft. So if you liked sending emails from the system, I'm going to show you another example, which is basically creating an invoice. And right now what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on the add, and the add is going to email that AR invoice. So you see it happens very instantly. And now you see, dear Norm Thompson, attached is your AR invoice with the crystal report attachment. So we're working in print and delivery with the crystal reports. So that's how to send an automatic email. And the last is that you're able to do a mass delivery. So for example, you're able to pick a document that you want to email or save to file or print preview and so on. You can pick the filters that based on that you want to display the list. And once you have the list available, you're able to pick which documents. I'm just going to pick here a few. Which documents you want to email. I chose email, of course, and I will click on OK. And right now what we're going to see is that the emails are being generated very quickly into my draft. So now we can see those documents are here, and we can even see a grouping. So if we don't want to bombard Mary, which is the contact person, with 3 separate emails, we can just choose to group it together. So again, you're able to do that. Now, if you don't want to have to do it manually, you can set a schedule the same with the same functionality. You can have a schedule to run, let's say, every day at 4 o'clock in the morning to send the open documents from yesterday, for example. So you can do it without any user interference and without having Business One open. Another thing that I want to show you is something to do with validations again. So I'm going to have here a sales order with a few items and with a fee item. The fee, sorry, I keep forgetting that, both. So I've just added the sales order. And let's say I want to copy that into a quotation or into a purchase order. But the fee item is a sales item. It's not defined as a sales, but for me, this is a sales item. It should not be in the purchase order. So if I click on transfer to purchase, the purchase order is going to be opened with the 3 lines copied. But as you see, we didn't copy the fee item. So we've just automated copying from one document into another. And you can do it from, for example, I've heard people doing a credit memo to an invoice and so on. And you can just enter your own validation and line loops. So basically you get here something that runs through the lines and copying that into another document. Two more things and we're done. I just want to check if you have any questions. So the next thing I want to show you is a new functionality that we have in the system, which is basically an EDI solution. So part of our universal functions is export and import files. So we're able to, it basically serves as an EDI solution. I'm able to export into XML or any other file and import from any other file. So I have here Norm Thompson. And for example, I did here some kind of an EDI or an export of his invoices into XML. So when I click on it, I'm going to get an Explorer with a list of the doc totals and the doc entry for Norm Thompson. Again, that's something that I'm able to run on a schedule and do many, many things with it. This has just been a very simple example. And I don't know if you see here, there is a green line here. It's just because I've set it up to have the, once it's below the credit limit, so it's in green, and once it's above the credit limit, it's in red. Again, a visual representation of rules that you have in the system. You can color them visually. The last thing I want to show you, and with that we're done for this part of the demo, is, for example, I've set here a new button, and this button is attached into a SQL query. And what it does is very simple. It's asking me to select a customer for the report. The report is showing you the items that has been purchased by the customer that you choose. So for example, if I choose Norm Thompson, I'm going to get a list of items that you can pick from. Okay, so those are the items that Norms have purchased in an invoice. You get here a column that you can add the remarks into, and so on. You can even have it on the description, on the item. You can choose which column is editable. You can have an orange arrow and everything else, which is the regular. And also what you can do, and it's very used by customers. I'm sorry, not sure what happened. I must have clicked something by accident. So I'm going to do it again. Oh, it's populated it already. So what I can do is pick some items. I can see the quantity. And once I click on select, you can see that it's populated. When I accidentally clicked, it actually populated into the document, and now it's populated again. And you can have the quantity and the unit price from the document. That's something that you can just as part of the functionality of B1UP, you can have a dynamic report that you can choose parameters from it and populate the document that you're working on. So again, very, very powerful functionality. You can do many things. It's so hard. I have so many things that I want to show you. So it's hard to pick and choose. But basically, you've seen most of the things that are relevant. So by this point, I want to actually open the call and ask you if you do have any questions before I go into this slide. So I will just let me open here. So if you do have a question, just write it in the chat, and then I would get it. If you have any questions about the functionality, any specific requirements that you may have. Okay, so I guess we don't have. So let's just go with this slide. So as you can see, what customers and partners even can benefit from this module is that you get a very enhanced user experience. You're able to save on a lot of clicks and save a lot of time. You're able to make sure that the data that you have in Business One is the correct data. So later when you want to report on it, then you're able to do that. You get a much more increased user productivity. Just users, it's with the rules, it's just matching into their job, so they don't have to pick up the call to get something going or do anything like that. Very easy to use, very intuitive to make. We're also having training sessions from time to time. We just finished a world tour around the world, and again, if you do have any requirement from your side, then we're open to it. Just write me an email or write our sales department an email, and if you get enough people, we can come there to train you. And I would just say, in B1UP, I like to mention that it saves time, money, and energy, because that's what it does. And I'll show you an example of a return on investment for a sample company. If you do have a company with 20 users, and let's say a monthly cost of an employee is about $5,000 and a cost of an error is $100. If with B1UP the users can win 20 minutes a day, and that's just one user, and avoid one error per week, then the gain is around those numbers. When you display that for a customer or for whoever is interested, then it's a question of an investment and not of an expense. And again, you get one package to do all the development needs, so you don't have to pay every time for a separate SDK development. One package. I think I have a question here. The question is there a possibility to export the created rules to import at the customer database? You can import and export every configuration done with B1UP. They're just exported into XML and imported in the other database as XML. And I would say in coming up versions, it's going to be even a more enhanced import and export, like a solution import and export that has many universal functions, validation, and so on in one package. So definitely you're able to do that. Any other questions? Okay, so basically I'm done. As I said, I hope you get to see what B1UP can do for you and your customers. Again, very sold add-on around the world. And if you do have any questions, of course, you can always contact us. I will just say that we have a 20 days free license that you can use. You can download the product with a license for 20 days for free. You can play it, you can play with it and see what it can do. Again, we're here for questions. And with that, unless someone else is going to write me a question at the last minute, I would like to thank you for joining this session today, and have a great continue of the day if you do. Thanks. Bye bye.